Unit 6, Lesson 3, the development of the primary trig ratios. So we're going to deal with right angle triangles in this unit. We specifically study right angle triangles, and we need to know how we are going to describe the parts of a right angle triangle to help us with some of the things we're going to learn. So first we're going to determine something called the reference angle. And the reference angle is a marked angle. So first we call it a marked angle, and we give it a symbol. Sometimes we call it x, or another letter, another variable. But often in textbooks, you're going to see a symbol that looks like this. It's called theta. It's a Greek letter theta, and sometimes we use that to mark angles. So here it is, theta. You draw it a couple of times so you understand how it is. So that's the Greek letter we're going to use to mark an angle. Sometimes we use other symbols too, if we have more than one angle, sometimes we use like a phi symbol. Sometimes we use the alpha symbol, but most of the time we stick with theta. Okay, so on a triangle we have a marked angle, label it theta, and in reference to that marked angle, that reference angle, we label the triangle. So the hypotenuse, no matter what, is always the longest side. So we'll label the hypotenuse HYP for short. Now, we have to label the other two sides of the triangle. So one of those sides is going to be labeled the opposite side, and it's going to be across from the reference angle. So if I go across the reference angle, this side here would be called my opposite side, OPP for short. Then the adjacent side is the side next to the reference angle, the adjacent side. So my adjacent side right next to the reference angle. Okay, all right. Now, what if the one of the other angles was the reference angle? So what if I put the reference angle down here instead? Well, the hypotenuse is still the longest side, but the opposite side is now here on the left because it's across from the angle, and the adjacent side is here on the bottom. Okay, so let's do some examples. Let's label the sides. So again, reference angle down here on the bottom right corner, and my hypotenuse is up here. The adjacent side is the side beside the angle, right beside the angle. The opposite side is across from the reference angle. What if the reference angle is up here? So, well, okay, my hypotenuse is still the longest side. It's also another way to remember the hypotenuse is that the hypotenuse is opposite of my 90-degree angle. And we'll never consider the 90-degree angle as my reference angle. It's always going to be the 90-degree angle by itself in that corner. But the reference angle up here, theta, leaves me with the adjacent side right beside it here, and the opposite side, which is across from the angle. If your triangle was oriented this way and your reference angle was over here, then your adjacent side would be the side beside the angle. Try not to confuse it with this side here, because this side is my hypotenuse. The hypotenuse is opposite of the 90-degree angle. So usually it's a good idea to label your hypotenuse first. And then across from my reference angle is my opposite side. If your triangle is oriented this way, I'll label my hypotenuse first. So because again, it's across the 90-degree angle. Here's my reference angle theta. So my adjacent side is this side touching the angle, and then across from the reference angle is my opposite side. Okay. Example 2, identify the opposite, adjacent, and hypotenuse. What if I asked to identify the lengths? So the opposite side. So let's go. My theta reference angle, my hypotenuse is here, and my adjacent side is down here, touching the angle, and the opposite is across. So if I were to label the sides, the lengths of each side, my opposite would be 3, and my adjacent side would be 4, and my hypotenuse would be 5. So it's as simple as that. We're going to be doing an investigation next in class, where I'm going to give you some similar triangles, and you're going to be labeling the adjacent, hypotenuse, and opposite, and making some measurements. And that's it. That will end. And then at the end of the activity, we're going to make a master table of some calculations of my ratios: opposite over hypotenuse, adjacent over hypotenuse, and opposite over adjacent. All right, and you'll see something surprising. And that ends this video.